Hello, good morning, everybody out there. How are you doing? My name's Ian. I'm sorry we haven't spoken in a couple of weeks. There's been a few issues. But yeah, this is Ian. I'm talking to you on the Wednesday morning, doing this podcast. This is in relation to my book, Living with Mitochondria Against All Odds. Um, and as you may know, I'm disabled. I'm in a wheelchair and I can't see. But it's just basically to show that whatever problems you've got, physical and things, you can still get on and do stuff in life. I'm gonna do two or three this morning, so please listen out for the rest. Um, yeah, the first thing I'm gonna talk to you this morning about, I went to Edinburgh a couple of weeks ago to the Fringe for 5 days. I went with a friend. I met him a few years ago, about 10 years ago, doing a comedy gig in Sheffield. So we went up, we go so far near to Newcastle, near the airport where we stay. There's like a Toby Cavalry and there's a travel lodge behind it. So we stay there and just have a few beers and then have some food and get some rest and then go the rest of the way to Edinburgh. There was a couple of incidents that happened in Edinburgh. As you know, earlier this year I did my ACL and my ligaments in my knee, in my good knee. So when I first did this, I contacted where we were staying and said, could you give me an accessible shower room or a wet room? And they said, yeah, we can. Yeah, it was a wet room and a shower room, but it was no handrails in the sight. But luckily, I managed not to fall, and the toilet seat stayed on its hinges all week, which was very strange for me. But if I'm being a bit more careful, that's not such a bad thing. So, so yeah, no, I'd booked about three different shows, 3 or 4 different shows already. And Nina Conte, who is a ventriloquist, um, Andrew Maxwell, he's a comic, and Glenn Moore, he was doing a work in progress. Um, so yeah, that was good. Um, and then we saw a couple of others that we just got leaflets from the street. People handing leaflets out, and I thought, well, we walked out of one because one, we needed the toilet, and two, it wasn't very good. And I thought I could do better than that, so I'm going to look into it. So watch this space. Um, and There was a couple of other incidents that happened. Um, on one of the days, we'd gone in Mick's car to the gig in the morning, and then we'd gone back to where we were staying, and then on the late afternoon we'd gone back into town because we were going to see another show that evening, and then it started raining, but then what happened? My wheelchair fell apart. One of the tires partly came off one of the wheels, and one of the front wheels fell off. So luckily, Mick got us to a seat, and it was undercover, which it was absolutely chucking it down with rain at this point. And he managed to get the tyre back on and get the wheel back on. And as I say, luckily it was the last day that we were there, So in the morning, we kind of packed up and came back. But I've had the wheelchair services out, and they saw I needed 2 new tyres. So they've ordered, and I've already got them now. 2 new tyres for my wheelchair, which is really really good, and really kind of relief that I thought, oh no, what are we gonna do? I mean, if it had been someone that wasn't very strong, I don't know how I would have got back, because we were getting a taxi into the main centre. I mean, Mick had a car, but by that point we'd both been drinking, so he wouldn't have been able to go back and get his car and pick me up. So I hope, thankfully, it was all kind of, it was fixable. As I always say, as long as there's no flight of stairs and no lift, there's usually a way around things. I mean, most of the venues, or the venues that we went to, were accessible, or one of them was, and they got ramps out to help us into the place, so I could stay in my wheelchair. As you may know, if you've been into Edinburgh, you know it isn't very flat. But we generally use taxis to get around. So it's like 30 quid a day in a taxi. But we usually stay at one of the universities, the halls of residence, and it's self-catering. So in the morning I generally sort myself out, and then because Mick didn't usually eat much on the morning, and then when we'd get home we'd make something, and then Mick would cook something, and it all worked out really really well. This is my podcast in relation to my book, Living with Mitochondria Against All Odds. As if you've heard this before, I'm in a wheelchair and I can't see. If you haven't read the book already, please have a look on Amazon. I believe it's still available, but I'm in a wheelchair and I can't see properly. I can see enough to push myself about, but I can't see distance and detail. But yeah, Edinburgh was it was good, and as I say, hopefully next year I'm going to look into costs of places to stay and a venue spot, and hopefully I can get my practice in doing these podcasts, and then hopefully we'll be fighting ready to go next year. So like I say, if you've enjoyed this, please listen out for other podcasts and get my book. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you soon. Anyway, thank you. Goodbye.